Leading an army in games is such a fun experience, and something that's pretty hard to do in real life. You need to make decisions, plan strategies, manage your troops, and have solid leadership skills. All the games in this list give you that feeling, and you can play them right on your mobile phone. Some of these games let you control smaller armies, while others give you much larger ones. But either way, the feeling of leading is always there. We've got around 30 games here, plus 2 bonus ones, split into 5 categories. This video might be a bit longer than usual, but I think it's worth it. So enough yapping, let's get started. Let's start with the turn-based strategy category. In these games, you take your time, plan every move, and then watch it play out. First, we got a popular game called the Battle of Polytopia. The army here isn't very big, but it plays an important role. You start with one tribe and a single city. Then explore the map, gather resources, and expand your empire. Battles happen when your units move next to enemies, and the outcome depends on things like terrain, attack, and defense. You can recruit new troops with stars, unlock stronger units through tech, and some units even upgrade after winning fights. It's simple, but the strategy runs deep. If you somehow never try this game, you should definitely. Next, we have one of the best ports on mobile, the Banner Saga. This is a role-playing game with tactical combat and a branching story where you lead a caravan of Vikings and horned giants across a frozen, dying world. The big thing here is that your choices matter. What you say in dialogue or how you travel affects your resources, the morale of your group, and even who survives. In combat, you control a smaller squad of heroes, but the game also represents a much larger, real army with stats like fighters and clansmen. You don't move this army directly, instead you manage it through decisions as you travel. For example, you might meet refugees and decide whether to take them in. Say yes and your army grows, but your supplies run out faster. Say no and you save food, but risk losing new allies. Morale also plays a huge role. If your people are unhappy, your heroes fight worse. Keeping them motivated with rest and good decisions is key. If you're into strategy mixed with storytelling and leadership, this one really delivers. So in this category, you need to make quick decisions, control your squads in live battles, and react fast to what's happening. First, we've got Bad North Jotun Edition, a real-time tactics roguelite where you defend islands from Viking invasions. The game looks minimalist, but it's tough, and every choice matters. Lose your commanders, and the campaign is over. Your army is made up of small squads led by commanders. You start with basic militia, but can upgrade them into infantry with shields, pikemen, or archers. You don't control soldiers individually. Instead, you move entire squads to positions on the island, and they fight automatically. Sometimes they can be a little dumb, but that's part of the challenge. The main goal is to protect houses from Viking raids. The more you save, the more gold you earn, which goes into upgrading your squads and commanders. There's no real pause button during fights. So when longboats land from all sides, you have to act fast. Up next, we have Iron Marines, a classic-style RTS set in a sci-fi universe. You command an elite squad defending human colonies from alien invasions, with missions ranging from rescuing civilians to holding bases or wiping out enemy targets. Your army is the core of the game, small squads of different unit types backed by a powerful hero. Battles are fast-paced and enemies can swarm you quickly, so you need to move troops, pick targets, and use hero abilities without hesitation. If you haven't tried this one yet, it's a solid strategy game that definitely deserves a spot on your list. Next is what many consider the best RTS on mobile, Company of Heroes. Originally a PC classic, this one was ported by Feral Interactive, and it brings the full squad-based World War II experience to mobile without cutting corners. The campaign focuses on D-Day and the battles that followed in Normandy. You command 2 American companies, and your army is made up of small squads like riflemen, machine gunners, and engineers. Instead of controlling single soldiers, you move entire squads, and they automatically use cover and react to their surroundings. This squad-focused design makes the combat feel tactical and realistic. The core of the gameplay is capturing and holding strategic points on the map. Resources like manpower, munitions, and fuel are generated from the territory you control, so the game pushes you to stay aggressive and manage the battlefield, not just sit back and build. It's not a cheap game, but if you want the most authentic RTS experience on mobile, Company of Heroes is absolutely worth it. Next up is one of my childhood favorites, Stick War Legacy. This one's a real-time strategy classic, with that iconic stick figure art style. You lead the nation of Order, building miners for gold, training units, and directly controlling your troops as you clash with enemy nations in the world of Inamorta. No big grand map here. It's all about resource management, unit production, and smashing the enemy's statue. And yeah, it even has a sequel, Stick Wars Saga, which expands the lore, adds more fantasy and magic elements, and brings multiplayer into the mix. Up next is RTS Siege Up. This might be considered a hybrid, but I think it fits better in this category. It's basically a modern mobile game with the soul of a classic RTS like Age of Empires. You start with workers, gather resources, and slowly build your base with barracks, tech upgrades, and defenses. From there, you train melee units, archers, and cavalry, then take direct control in real-time battles. It's simple, old-school RTS action without the pay-to-win nonsense, and it feels great on mobile. Up next is Trench Warfare. Now, I know it looks rough, but it's actually fun and has positive reviews on both platforms. In fact, this one's actually a remake, and the original looked even worse. It's a real-time strategy game that captures the brutal, static nature of World War I trench battles. You take command of a nation's army and fight across both the western and eastern fronts, deploying units to push the enemy back and capture their trenches. The pixel art style might seem simple, but it lets the game run massive battles with hundreds of soldiers on screen at once. You've got infantry, vehicles, artillery, and special units to mix up your strategy. There's even a sandbox mode where you can spawn over 1,000 troops and watch complete chaos unfold. Finally, we have Door Kickers, a tactical strategy game with really positive reviews on both platforms. Instead of big battles, this one puts you in charge of a SWAT team in tight room-clearing missions. Your job is to neutralize threats, rescue hostages, or disarm bombs. There's no base building or resource grind here. The focus is on planning and execution. The key mechanic is real-time with free pause, meaning you can stop the action anytime, redraw paths, and adjust commands to make sure your plan works perfectly. You manage a roster of up to 10 operators, but each mission only lets you bring a smaller squad depending on the situation. Between missions, you train, equip, and upgrade your team. So your real army is the whole roster you're building up over time.
So in this category, you have to build walls, towers, and armies to defend or crush castles. There are also two upcoming ones, so I'll start with the first. We have Extremely Realistic Siege Warfare Simulator. It's still in early access on Steam, and while there's no official release date yet, you can pre-register on TapTap, and maybe you can download it on some third-party sites. This is a physics-based tactical strategy game set in a medieval fantasy world, and as the name suggests, it's all about massive siege battles. Instead of a story-driven campaign, it's more of a sandbox where you build armies, construct siege weapons, and set up chaotic battles just to see how they unfold. It also has multiplayer plus a unique unit possession mode where you can drop out of the commander's view and directly control a single soldier in first or third person. From infantry and archers to cavalry and siege engines, it gives you a lot of freedom in how you want your battles to look. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on this one. Next, we have an upcoming game I'm personally most excited about on this list, Parabellum Siege of Legends. It recently dropped on Steam and is expected to release on mobile this October for around $3. And honestly, the art style alone gives it such a rich premium vibe. This is a 2D side-scrolling strategy and construction game where you play as a hero building a thriving city, expanding borders, and defending it from invasions. It mixes city building with large-scale real-time battles, so every decision with your resources really matters. The story takes you through missions full of war, betrayal, and power struggles, while you recruit and train a legendary army from elite infantry to deadly archers. Your hero leads the charge, but their strength depends on the troops you command. During battles, tactical control is key. You can change formations, set ambushes, and position troops to counter the enemy, giving it that true strategy feel. Your army plays both roles, defending your city's walls and towers, while also marching out to conquer rival kingdoms. It's a constant cycle of building, defending, and attacking. This one really looks like it could be something special, and I'm honestly hyped to see how it turns out. Next, we have Medieval Defense and Conquest, a real-time strategy game with a strong tower defense focus and positive reviews. Set in the medieval era, your job is to build and defend your castle against endless waves of invaders. You recruit and train units like archers, pikemen, and knights, then position them on walls, towers, and choke points to hold the line. Battles play out in real time, but you can move troops around to counter threats and breaches. While defense is the core, the conquest part comes into play when you build an army to go on the offensive and take enemy strongholds. This mix of defense and siege battles makes it a solid fit for the category.
Up next is Siege Castles, a physics-based strategy game with decent reviews, and some players even call it truly free-to-play. Instead of classic RTS, it's all about building your own castle and then tearing down enemy castles with siege weapons. Battles play out automatically, so the real strategy happens in the planning phase, designing your walls, picking materials, and placing weapons like ballistas, trebuchets, and cannons. You can also recruit magicians for extra firepower and deploy ground troops to mix things up. On top of that, there's Light Kingdom Management, where you gather resources and upgrade your island. Up next is Grow Castle, one of the classic tower defense strategy games you might already know. Instead of placing towers, your army itself becomes the defense, with archers and heroes protecting your castle from endless waves. You don't directly control units in battle. The focus is on upgrading your castle, strengthening your heroes, and managing resources to survive tougher waves. It's a simple but addictive take on tower defense. Up next, we have Thronefall, which was recently ported to mobile. It's described as a minimalist kingdom building and tower defense game, and it's been praised for being simple yet surprisingly deep. The gameplay runs on a day and night cycle. Daytime is your chance to build and upgrade castles, walls, towers, and resource buildings, but when night comes, waves of enemies attack, and everything you built is put to the test. You decide what units to produce, knights, archers, or spearmen, but when battle starts, they fight automatically. Meanwhile, you play as the hero, diving directly into the fight. Your hero can equip different weapons, each with unique abilities that make a big difference in battle. It's a clean, minimalist take on strategy that cuts out the complexity of traditional RTS while keeping the tension of defending your kingdom. The game's a little pricey at around $11, but reviews say it's absolutely worth it. Next up, we have Nightfall, which is literally the same as Thronefall with the day and night cycle. During the day, you gather resources, build up your kingdom, and prepare your defenses. Then at night, waves of enemies arrive, testing everything you set up. You can construct barracks, archery ranges, and magic towers to recruit soldiers, archers, mages, and powerful heroes. Your job is to position units smartly. When battle begins, the fights play out automatically, just like in Thronefall. If you want a similar experience to Thronefall but free, this game has you covered. And lastly, we have Heroes and Castles 2, a hybrid that blends action RPG with real-time strategy and tower defense. But unlike traditional RTS where you directly command squads, here the focus is more on action. You play as the hero while your army fights alongside you. The army is absolutely vital. You can't win by relying on your hero alone. Battles mix defense, offense, and support roles, making unit variety key. You control your army mainly by summoning them using command points, which you earn by killing enemies or having banner units on the field. Once summoned, troops act on their own, engaging the nearest enemies. Your hero's presence shapes the fight, leading charges, drawing aggro, and using abilities to buff allies or crush foes. The graphics are decent, the gameplay feels good, and overall, it's a good free game. So in this category, you have to grow settlements, recruit armies, and expand your empire. The first game we have is one of the best army games on mobile, Total War Empire. There are plenty of Total War titles out there, but for this list, I'm going with the latest port. This game is a hybrid that mixes two genres, turn-based strategy and real-time tactics, so it fits both categories. But the core loop is all about developing your nation, upgrading towns and cities, building your forces, and handling diplomacy and resources. When battles happen, you jump into huge 3D fights where you directly control hundreds, sometimes thousands of soldiers. If you just want to focus on empire building, you can auto-resolve battles, but the real-time fights are crazy satisfying. Overall, it's one of the best ways to experience a massive strategy game on mobile without losing that Total War scale. Next up, we have Kingdom Two Crowns, a true masterpiece. It's a minimalist side-scrolling strategy and resource management game, and the way it handles your army is super unique. You, as the monarch, barely have any direct control over your units. They mostly act on their own. To grow your army, you recruit new subjects by dropping coins at a hobo campsite. These peasants start off simple but can be upgraded. You assign roles by paying coins at specific stations. A bow at the bow shop turns a peasant into an archer. A hammer at the tool shop makes them a builder. Once they have jobs, your units do their thing autonomously, letting you focus on bigger strategy. The ultimate goal is to destroy the greed on all 5 islands and secure your reign. If you haven't tried this game yet, what are you doing? Next up, we've got Steel and Flesh 2, basically the closest thing to Mount & Blade on mobile. It's set in 1212, throwing you into a massive open world with 20 different factions. On the overworld map, you'll travel between cities, castles, and villages, dealing with lords, diplomacy, and managing your own state. You can swear loyalty to a king or just go rogue and build your own empire. When you engage in a battle, the game shifts to a real-time 3D combat scene. But the combat isn't that great, and the AI feels kinda dumb, to be honest. You can also recruit soldiers from villages, cities, or even freeing prisoners. Sands of Solzar is like a mix between Mount & Blade and Diablo, but set in a desert world filled with tribes and factions fighting for power. It's a single-player, open-world sandbox where you choose your class and shape your own path.
The map is real-time but slow-paced, and you can pause to make decisions while traveling between cities, villages, and dungeons. Here you'll take quests, trade, and interact with characters, deciding if you want to join a faction or build your own empire. The game has 4.2 stars in the App Store, and while many say it's great, others feel the port isn't that polished, so keep that in mind. When battles happen, the game shifts to a real-time isometric battlefield. You can recruit soldiers from villages, cities, or even captured enemies, but keeping them requires food and gold. Instead of micromanaging units, you give broad commands while your troops fight on their own. Your hero is the real game changer, leading from the front with powerful abilities in this mix of kingdom building and army management. Blades of Desseron, a mobile game that is also inspired by Mount & Blade. Bro, all these are inspired by Mount & Blade. That's why Mount & Blade is a GOAT. Anyway, it's a 2D fighting action game mixed with an open-world medieval RPG. On the overworld map, you move your character around, travel between towns, interact with NPCs, and even manage settlements after you conquer them. You can also engage in diplomacy, making deals or rivalries with different factions. When you step into battle, the game shifts to a side-scrolling fight with up to 10 versus 10 contestants. You directly control your hero while your army fights alongside you. So the army's small but still adds weight to the fight. Soldiers can be recruited from towns or found wandering the map, and you can tweak your army's composition. As a leader, you can give broad orders, manage your retinue, and customize your faction while still relying on your own combat skills to carry the day. In this category, it's not about giant kingdoms or massive RTS battles, it's more like puzzle-like or quirky takes on controlling armies and swarms. First up, we've got Despot's Game, a roguelike tactics army battler that's honestly hard to put in a box. You start with a squad of puny humans, aka your noob army, and guide them through a procedurally generated dungeon. Every run, you spend tokens to recruit more humans and slap weapons on them, which instantly turns them into different classes. But here's the catch. Moving from room to room costs food, and the bigger your army gets, the hungrier they become. Before battles, you place your units on a grid, choosing formations and deciding exactly where each human stands. The max you can field is 49 humans, which makes battles feel chaotic and hilarious. It's a fun game that's definitely worth trying if you're down to spend a few bucks. Next up is Tab's Pocket Edition, the mobile port of the legendary Totally Accurate Battle Simulator, and it's a perfect fit for the unique and experimental strategy category. This game takes the usual idea of building armies but throws in ragdoll physics so your soldiers wobble, flop, and fight in the most chaotic way possible. It's basically a battle sandbox where you can set up armies and just watch the madness unfold. You've got campaign mode, sandbox mode, and multiplayer, so there's plenty to mess around with. What makes it extra fun is the unit creator. You can build custom units with crazy weapons, abilities, and looks. And yeah, you can also hop in and control a single fighter yourself. One of the most entertaining strategy games on mobile right now. Here's the game that takes the swarm army category in a totally unique direction, 7 Billion Humans. It's a puzzle game that uses quirky logic to actually teach you basic programming concepts. Now this is interesting. The game released back in 2018 and it shows machines doing the human work, which is kind of what's happening right now. The premise is wild. Robots have taken over all the jobs, but humans still crave work. So you're tasked by your robot overlords to program humans to perform mundane office tasks. Instead of controlling one unit, your entire army is a swarm of tiny office workers. And here's the interesting part. You don't control them individually. You write one program and every single human follows the same instructions at the same time. That's where the challenge comes in, making sure they don't bump into each other, grab the same object, or mess up the process. It feels like choreographing a chaotic dance where hundreds of workers move in sync to solve puzzles. Next up, we've got Illuminaria, a resource management and base building game with a fresh twist. The whole idea is you're commanding a swarm of intelligent robots to bring back light to a world swallowed by darkness. You give high-level commands like build this or gather that, and the swarm handles the details. The army here isn't about tactics on the battlefield, but about managing resources and tech. When it's time to fight, battles play out automatically while you focus on strategy. Next up is Zombie Night Terror, easily one of the most unique mobile games out there. It's basically a puzzle game disguised as a zombie-themed RTS and described as Lemmings with zombies. You're the mastermind behind a full-blown apocalypse, guiding your horde through traps, obstacles, and gun-toting humans. The army here is your zombie horde, and every level is a puzzle where you need to figure out the right sequence of moves. Now this is the important part. You don't directly control the zombies. By default, they're brainless, just walking forward into pits or ambushes. Your control comes from a mutation system, where you spend DNA to give zombies special abilities. That DNA is limited, so every mutation and infection has to be carefully planned. Your horde isn't just an army, it's also your main resource. Lose them and it's game over. It's a little pricey, but trust me, this one's absolutely worth it.
Up next is Nanu Leo, a strategy game where your army isn't soldiers but a network of magical sentient trees. You plant trees on a grid, spending seats to expand, gather resources, or defend against enemies. Placement is everything, since defensive trees act like turrets, automatically firing at threats. Then come the war trees, spawning units that march out on their own to destroy enemy spawns. You don't control them directly, the AI decides their moves, so the real challenge is managing your seeds and building the perfect tree network. And the ultimate goal of Nanu Leo is to survive and defeat the invading Dark Force. Up next is Undead Horde, a mix of action RPG and real-time strategy. You play as a necromancer whose home was destroyed by the living and now it's time for payback. From a top-down view, you slash through enemies, grab loot, and level up like a classic RPG, but every enemy you kill can be raised to join your undead army. Your horde can grow up to 100 units, and with simple commands like follow and attack, it feels less like controlling units and more like unleashing pure carnage. And then there's Undead Horde 2, Necropolis, the sequel that gives you new features like rebuilding your home base, making progression feel deeper and more personal. Plus, instead of just reviving what you killed, you can choose from unlocked unit types to shape your army. With a 4.5 rating on the App Store, it's a must-try.
So lastly, we have Slipstream Rogue Space. This one's a cooperative multiplayer roguelike with a pretty unique concept. Instead of just you controlling everything, it's built as a streamer-led community game where up to 120 people can play together in real time. So if you're a streamer, this one's made for you. Here's how it works. One person takes the role of the captain, usually the streamer, making the big decisions like plotting the course, choosing upgrades, and giving out orders. Meanwhile, the rest of the players become the crew, and that's basically your army here. Each crew member has a class like Brawler, Artillery, or Mechanic, and their job is to keep the ship alive, manning weapons, repairing systems, and even fighting off borders. The runs play out across randomly generated maps, with your whole squad battling alien ships, repairing damage, and trying to survive wave after wave of chaos. If you're a streamer with a good-sized audience, this game is for you. Now let's talk about two bonus games. First in the bonus category, we've got Charge and Crown. This one feels like a modern mix of RTS, city building, and RPG. Honestly, it looks like a better version of Steel and Flesh. Now the reason it's not on the main list is simple. It's still buggy, and there's no global launch yet. You can only grab it on TapTap for now. No doubt the graphics look really nice and the gameplay is decent too, but it still gives off that typical mobile game vibe and probably has some pay-to-win elements. The game also features deep progression, siege battles, alliances, and massive PvP. Next in the bonus category is Little Army Manager. This one doesn't really fit in any category, which is why it's here. It's basically a medieval-themed auto-battler mixed with roguelite elements. You don't control the fight directly, instead, you build and position your army before battle, then watch it play out automatically. The whole challenge is about smart unit combos, like putting tanks up front and archers behind. Simple idea. So that's it for this video. If you found it useful, consider subscribing. My goal is to hit 5,000 subs by the end of September. Sounds kind of impossible, but with your support, it can actually happen. Don't forget to drop a like too. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, you can check out one of these videos on your screen.